Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode here of the Weekly Poker Showdown, brought to you by Party Poker. I'm your host, Jamie Staples. This week we have the one and only on the podcast, Bill Perkins, a guy that's been playing $1 million poker tournaments. He's been hosting crazy prop bets. I've been in a few of those. He's currently playing a heads-up Hollywood Omaha challenge with Phil Galfond and about to be a published author. We talk a little bit about his book, the challenge, life in general. It was an amazing conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about some of the online poker news this week. Let's start by talking about the Poker Masters, the huge series going on Party Poker right now with buy-ins from $10,000 up to $50,000. We've seen some of the very best in the game playing this on a regular basis. It's been so much fun to watch. I actually got to play an event this week, which was so fun. I didn't cash it, but it was just amazing. It's my fourth or fifth 10K in my life. So it was a pretty special moment, but we'll get him next time. Jason Kuhn, Cannett, and Adams notch a Poker Masters online title this week. Jason Kuhn won a massive $549,000 in the $1 million guaranteed 8-max Poker Masters online. He bought in for $25,000 and came out on top of a field of 72 players, created a prize pool of a total of $1.8 million. Mustafa Kanit won the $500,000 guaranteed no limit hold'em 8-max for $279,300. Kanit's event had a $500,000 guarantee, but the 114 players who played made a prize pool of $1.1 million, shared among the top 16 finishers. Timothy Adams won the $500,000 guaranteed no limit hold'em 6-max. He won $243K from a prize pool of $780,000 for his efforts. Adams beat João Vieira heads up to win, while Finland's Sami Kalapuro also cashed. Moving on now to PowerFest, which continues on here, and real names this week, which I really love. I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I love being able to actually see who I'm playing against in their name. I'm really enjoying the experience. Team Online's Hristovoja Alin Pavlovich won the PowerFest 200K guaranteed 6-max PKO. Big congrats to Alin Pav on that success. He came out on top of a field of 448 players off a $530 buy-in. He beat It's Bacon Dave heads up to win $17,606 for first place, plus the $17,893 in bounties. It's Bacon Dave, dude. Tough guy. He's always got my goat. He always wins chips against me. João Samao won his second PowerFest title in less than a week by winning the 25 guaranteed PLO 6-max progressive knockout fast. That's a big title. Winning from a field of 133 players. This followed Samao's victory in the 75K guaranteed 8-6 mixed max progressive knockout, where he won $5,247 plus 5K as well in bounties. Meanwhile, Josip Sumanik placed first in the 75K guaranteed 8-6 Max Turbo, securing $20,946. And he also reached the final table of PowerFest 150K 8-max, finishing fourth place. So congrats to all those players on the PowerFest success. Moving on now to some of the industry news. The big news this week, of course, World Series of Poker has been officially postponed. It was due to start May 26th. There's still a chance the World Series of Poker could be held later in the year. The target is to run the series in autumn of 2020. Changes to the schedule are anticipated as well. The next scheduled live event for the World Series of Poker calendar is the Global Casino Championship in August. World Series of Poker Europe, hosted at King's Resort in Rozvadov, Czech Republic, is still scheduled for fall 2020. Ty Stewart, executive director of the WCP, said, "We are committed to running the World Series of Poker this year, but need additional time to proceed on our traditional scale while prioritizing guest and staff well-being. In the interim, official World Series of Poker competitions are expected to be played online this summer, and we will soon announce details of an expanded series of tournaments to be played on WCP.com and through partnerships with international operators, which will allow players to chase World Series of Poker glory from their homes." It's been released with $85 million in guarantees, 3 no limit hold'em main events scheduled from May 17th, $13 million in guarantees, plus $2 million guaranteed for the 25K super high roller. That's a new thing. Every day the series will offer a guarantee of at least $1.5 million, and the final Sunday will guarantee $22 million. 80 numbered events in total. Grand Prix Online Series visiting 5 regions at once. So the Grand Prix will run from May 3rd to May 10th. The regions will be UK, Russia, Canada, Germany, and Brazil. And each Grand Prix has 19 day ones. Player can play one and play them all, but only take their largest stack through to progress to the final day. The winner of each Grand Prix, plus the Grand Prix for Dealers Online event that runs April 26th to May 3rd, are guaranteed an extra prize. Very cool. The 6 winners get to play in a free 6-handed sit and go where the following prizes are up for grabs: 3 WPT 500 seats, 1 1600 WPT deep stack seat, 1 3200 WPT main event seat, and 1 5500 WPT passport package. That's it for the online news and the industry news and the party poker news. Let's get to the interview with Bill Perkins. This is a guy that's had such a positive impact in my life. I've learned so much through just interacting with him, spending some time at his place down in the Virgin Islands, doing some projects like Streambouts, some bets with the Ultimate Sweat. Like, he's really spurred me to grow as a human, and I've learned so much from him. So I appreciate him taking the time today. I hope you're all going to enjoy this conversation with Bill Perkins. Joining me on the podcast this week, we have a legend of the game, a guy that's been very influential in my life as well. I remember seeing you on, I think it was like a PokerStars cash game, 100K buy-in. That was my first Bill Perkins experience. So it's pretty surreal to talk to you now on the podcast 10 years after I saw that show. Bill Perkins, welcome to the show. Thanks for chatting today.
Thank you, and thanks for reminding me how ancient I am. But yeah, no, those were fun times. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I think that's good history. 10 years ago, playing on a high stakes cash game, I think that's like that's a good thing, Bill. I think
it does make me feel special, definitely.
So there's a lot I want to talk about today, but I wanted to start with some news going on in the poker world right now, which is of course the Galfond Challenge. So the people that aren't familiar, you're playing a heads up pot limit Omaha challenge with Phil Galfond. The terms of the bet are up to 50,000 hands, or whoever's up 400,000 first between the two of you. The side bet, however, is 1 million put up by Phil Galfond and 250,000 for yourself. So like effectively 4-1 odds there. How did you end up taking on this bet? Like, how did it start between you and Galfond?
He posted it, and he just posted it on Twitter, and far be it from me to shy away against a difficult challenge, right? With some incentive. And, we negotiated. I felt like just my rudimentary understanding of the game of Omaha and how how small the edges are per hand, that he couldn't be a 4-1 favorite, right? He just couldn't be, right? And so, that coupled with me actually taking a couple lessons and getting better to reduce whatever his edge was when we made that bet to whatever it is now. I felt like it was a good bet. It was a good challenge. And I also felt like it would help his site, Run It Up Poker. I think Phil's a really good guy. And I think this is a brilliant marketing scheme for growing his brand and his poker site. And I wanted to take part in it,
Absolutely. I agree with you on his site and this challenge and stuff like that. I think it's amazing what he's done. Like 15,000 viewers watching Cards Down Poker in the last challenge. I was like, this is insane. Like, he's really done something special here,
Yeah, and it's great for the poker community. I mean, it's just like bringing back poker entertainment and the game and keeping it alive. I mean, obviously COVID-19 has bumped people's interest as they're looking for things to do, since a lot of the outdoor activities and destinations are closed. So, it's awesome to be a part of it, and I'm rooting for Phil's site. You know what I mean? I'm a party poker guy, but there's room for more than one of us, and the whole ecosystem of poker needs to grow. And so, you root for Phil, except in this challenge. I'm rooting for me in this challenge. But aside from that,
I agree. The same. I hope Phil's site becomes number 2. I've said that on my stream. I like the guy. So, do you have any like special strategies? I don't know if you can let us in on this. Like, obviously this is a match that's ongoing. You guys are playing this out. Did you have any approaches coming into the match as to how you could negate his edge, or like ramp up variance or something like that?
Well, I mean, I think the first one, I'll just talk about the first one because it's constantly changing, right? Like I behave in a certain way, he discovers that, and then he counters, right? And then he behaves in a certain way. I discover it, and then I counter. So there's this ongoing fluctuation, right? And the first thing for me was to learn what those counters were and what I should be doing, right? And so I think the first match, I really wanted to tame Phil, right? I wanted to show up at the river with the nuts, not betting, right? I didn't want to be face up, and I wanted to, disguise as best I could, what my hand strength was, right? So the first game, I was really my checks were very strong, right? If I was my checks were almost too strong, right? And then he learned quickly, and he's like, okay, I'm not betting anymore, right? And
Mm.
so I think the second match you saw me start to fast play a little bit more, and open up a little bit and get crushed. Obviously, get beat. But that's the dynamic that's going on. It's like he's trying to understand my tendencies, and I'm trying to understand his, right? And I
Mm.
think my biggest weakness so far with respect to any game of cards, and particularly in PLO, is not respecting repot all in. Right? Like they just rarely, especially Phil, as a record shown up to date. Maybe I keep thinking that's going to change, but it doesn't. He's just not bluffing, right?
Right.
And I'm just, these type of coolers, are just much more common in PLO, right? And you just have to lay down some hands, And I did that on occasion, and other occasions I was just like, this just can't be. And of course, boom, it is,
It just
right?
is, yeah. Is it
It
is
just
it
is, right?
different in some of the like the private games? Cause I sweat your Instagram. I see you playing some games. I see Kevin Hart in the game sometimes. I see some big private games. Is it different in those games? Like, do they show up with bluffs more than when you play like an online superstar?
Yeah, I think we're just a little bit more wild. The game does continue. We're not playing against wizards upon wizards, right? Like, it's just a little bit more open and free flowing, right? These are friends that hopefully will know each other to the day we die, and hopefully we will play to the day we die.
Mm.
And it's just I think a looser situation, right? Playing against Phil, like one of my complaints, after the first game was like I could not get any value out of the rivers on this guy. Like
Right.
he was folding hands. I was like, what is he doing folding? And then I had to lower my bet size to try and get paid, and lower it to 200, and he still doesn't call. It's just like I could not. It was like trying to get blood out of a turnip, And so I think that my theory on the second match was that was my fault, right? Because I tamed him by like checking back aces and checking back top sets and checking back full houses and quads and all kinds of things. So like he just was denying me equity big. So I could not, and there's natural variance going on. And so once he caught up, I couldn't really pull away.
Mm.
It was hard for me to pull away from him because it's just hard for me to get value. So I'm looking at ways that I can safely drive up the variance and get some more value on later streets
Right.
on the next on the next
That
on the
makes
next
sense.
next session,
So
right?
you guys like planned this before Veni Vidi, right? Before the
Yeah.
infamous stuck
Yes.
€1 million ish and comeback. So I'm
Yeah.
curious in your mind how these events sort of changed how you felt about the challenge from him being down €1 million, like how did you feel, to him coming back and winning like one of the most epic comebacks, to winning the first session, to then having a bad second session and being stuck about 90K right now. Like how has your mind moved through that whole process,
Well, I
giving
mean,
in your chances?
I think people underestimate the variance of PLO.
Mm.
I think even Phil is with the odds he's laying me. Um, and we're just I just think it's highly unlikely. Like we're just not getting the 50,000 hands, right? One of us is going to get stopped out, right? And so that's one thing that like hit me first, was like, wow. And then I felt like there was something Phil was doing wrong in the beginning, right? Aside from running bad, right? He was doing wrong, and he fixed it, right? And I was like, okay, this guy's really good, right? You know what I mean? Like he was able to fix that. Like at some point, the pass was over, and Phil was down almost $1 million, right? He was down $1 million, 900,000 euros, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he came back and made $1 million, right? That is that takes not only um, just intellectual, just intelligence, but emotional intelligence as well. To like dig deep inside. I mean, the pressure on him, knowing that now he's got to go up against Perkins 4-1, and then now I'm down 2 million, and those things have to start playing out in your head, right? and how it's impacting your bankroll. And so he was able to do that was like, okay, it's going to be tougher than I thought, right? It's not going to be like, oh, I get this guy down 150, right? Or something like that, right? So it really made me take like a 4-day crash course in studying seriously. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's about, you know, much more serious, right? I was not going to be able to just pressure this guy out.
I like it. Well, I know you've been streaming a few of your sessions on the twitch.tv/thirst lounge, right?
Right.
So I encourage the audience, check it out. I know Phil Galfond's tweeting or streaming as well. So you can get like both whole cards up. I think it's going to be an amazing challenge. So just a shout out to everyone. Check it out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Guys out there, in case you don't know, there's a thing called multi-twitch. It's a command, and you just type in both of them, and you can watch both of us at the same time and
Yeah.
hear us banter and blather. And generally, we try and like, we understand that this challenge, if nobody was watching this challenge, I would do it, right? I'd probably still do it, would want a computer because the slowly getting cards and stuff like that. But it's more attractive that we're able to promote the game of poker,
Mm.
and able to promote a site, right? That is definitely a reason why this challenge is happening, for me. And so we want to make it fun, and multi-twitch will make it fun.
Absolutely. I have a few questions from the audience here. So I want to start with at Tidy Richard Prue, who asked, on all your various projects that you're working on, we're going to talk about some of these coming up, is the main thing these days for you the challenge? So like what motivates you when you take on new projects and ideas?
I do think it's somewhat the challenge, but it's also purpose, right? Like I feel like when I've been gifted to be able to thrive in chaos. And so, the pandemic, the hurricanes, et cetera, it's like, okay, this is the time for me to put on my mini cape and do what I do and
Mm.
make a difference, right? So those challenges get me. And then in terms of like financial or business or um, anything, I always say I'm in the business of making money. I have analysts, I have a team, we figure things out, and we make money. That's just I was trained and wired for this type of world, right? Stick me 20,000 years ago, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
I mean, maybe perhaps they would have trained me as a great hunter gatherer, best berry picker there ever was. The guy knows which one's poison, which one's not. I don't know. But right now, I have been highly trained, tip of the spear type of guy to thrive in chaos. And so, which really motivates me is using that skill. So, any kind of area where I can use that, um, that's kind of one, and if it also has like purpose other than just printing dollars, that really turns me on, right?
Yeah. So do you search volatility and like uncertainty? Do you search that in your life to like use those skills?
Yeah, when chaos comes in, it's just like, okay, where do I belong in this, right? Like,
Right.
there's certain aspects of the chaos where it's like, go sit home, son, you don't belong here, right? Like, I am not the police guy, right, busting down the door. I'm not the guy in the front door with a SEAL team kicking in the door, shooting guys in the face, right? That's not me. But I am the guy who's like, hey, I can analyze all this data and get these correlations and get some pay data, and I can tell with relatively certainty that's the guy you want, right? I can locate a guy, or I can, you know what I mean? Or I can be like, hey, I know you're crying that you can't get mass or whatever, but like, one, I have resources, not only just in terms of capital, but I have a team that can scour and search and vet and whatever, that I've developed over the years. So, hey, I'm the guy to go get you mass. You know what I mean? I'm the guy to procure this or solve that or clean your roads or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Organize X, Y, and Z. And so, one of the projects and sometimes also the third thing is personal meaning. Sometimes it could be personal connection. So there's this thing called Freedom on the Move. It's a runaway slave ad project where they basically have scanned in all the runaway slave ads. Cornell University, I think also University of Washington, and some other people have scanned them in a database and they tried to crowdsource them. It's been sitting there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, there's a lot of errors in the transcriptions, the scans aren't there, whatever. And I'm just like, wait a minute, weren't we taking satellite data and running AI to see if there were wells and rigs and count the rig count? We can do this, right? And I can learn about history and I can learn about my own people and what happened, et cetera. And take a 5-year project and make it a 2-week project, right? And so I've been working in the background, taking their data, running AI on it, then shipping it to Mechanical Turk, running 2 passes on that to correct the transcriptions, doing quality check, doing an event generator, saying, okay, this is 6 ads, but that's actually one event because all these ads are similar and the same thing. Running AI to support that, to get this data to now to dig out the history, right?
Right.
When did slaves run away? Why did they peak in August? You know what I mean? The jailer ads versus the enslaver ads. Where did they go? With male, female? What was the Eastern rape buried in this, right? Because when you describe slave as mulatto or mixed or octoroon, well, that's rape, right? Like that's an rape. So there's all kinds of things, and what caused these trends. And I just think there's a personal attachment to that and a skill set, and that matches. And I'm super passionate about that. We just had a conference call with them to share what we've been doing. They're super psyched, because they're resource stretched and they're not a business and whatever. And I'm just like, oh, we'll be done. Give us all your images, right? That's going to be cleaned up, data cleaned up, collated, whatever, and we'll pitch it right back to you in a database format. So now historians can do that. And one of the cool things I want to do at the end is that if you walk around Europe, I've been told that I've seen one of them that you'll see like a plaque, like so and so died in the Holocaust, lived here, or whatever. So, in the ads, we can see runaway slave lived on Lafayette and Bourbon in this house and the enslaver and ran away on this date and whatever, just to kind of keep the history alive. So that's an example, like one of several projects where I'm like, when we got on the phone, the person from Freedom on the Move was kind of like, who the hell are these guys? Like, you're in energy, like didn't know what to say.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
right.
why are you here?
Why do you care? Like, why are you
This is
interested?
not, and his statement was like, well, this is not kind of what you do. And I said, no, it's exactly what we do. It's just not the field that we do it in. Right. And so everything you're doing on this project is dead smack in our wheelhouse, right? We gather data, we extract data, we provide analysis, et cetera, out of everything. And so I get turned on by doing stuff like that.
That's really interesting. I could talk to you all day about that project alone. Do you publish any of this stuff, or do you just like keep it? Like, do you write about it, or?
I mean, we do some of it. Like we decided, like it's not me, but like my analyst on COVID-19, right? I published. If you look at my pinned tweet, we when COVID comes up, like we're traders, we got to know. Like I need to know ahead of time what demand destruction is going to be, what's going to happen, and everybody's like, oh, this is no big deal. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to short natural gas. I'm going to short S&Ps because I have the data and analysis, and whether we're going to shut down chaotically or orderly, it's going to happen, right? Like the effects are going to happen. And so like, I don't have time for politics and bullshit. I'm here to make money for my investors, and I'm forced to be rational about it. And so we set up an internal website with data and tracking and information and just hoovering and stuff, and then collating it and just trying to track news stories. And that's, shouldn't be the only guy who has this, right? Like, it's written by an analyst who has his own opinions, and you can see his color in there, right? But I think everybody should have that data in a concise spot so they can make their own risk reward decisions, right? So that data is there for me to make risk reward decisions professionally and also personally, right? Like, am my kids going to be in school or not? If school opens up, will I send them back or not? Will I stay in St. Thomas in a less dense area, or will I move to Houston, a more dense area? You know what I mean? Like I'm tracking all that data to make a decision for my investors and my family. And, I wanted to give that resource to everyone, and this freedom on the move stuff, we're actually currently, so that because there's several researchers and historians and whatever that look at this data, we're creating a website so they can just go look at our methods and methodology. I did something with MS research and a study on twins and genetics. Like I get into like complex problems and I love it, and so to loop it back to the poker and Phil Galfond, this is a complex problem for me. I'm like learning how to play PLO as I'm in this challenge with him. Right?
The highest stakes, like PLO challenge against the best.
It's like, yeah, I understand before I understand the rules of PLO, and I had some basic understanding because of Hold'em to PLO, but really I didn't know jack shit, right? I couldn't tell you whether this hand was a call or a fold in the middle of the barrel, right? Or 3-bet defend or not. And I went on a super crash course over like 4 days to like get to a point where it can at least fend inside the 4-1 odds, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that, I'm a favorite over Phil, but I think it's inside the 4-1.
Right. Even now being down 90K on the challenge, do you like your side at the 4-1? Do you think it's plus EV?
Yeah, I still like my side. I mean, and it's it's variance. Like it's cards fall on the river that
Yeah.
have. I mean, like in that match, like he was up, and then I got back to up. Then he was up again, and it was an obscene amount. Then I got back to even, and then he was up an obscene amount, right? And
Yeah.
so, you know, clearly I had some errors in that match. I'm always going to have some errors, and clearly I missed some hard counters to what he was doing. And so, I'm just going to keep learning and get better. And it's just, I mean, unless you just have someone completely clicking buttons, it's really hard to be a 4-1 dog.
Mm. Yep. Makes sense. I'm looking forward to seeing the end of it.
Right? It's hard. Phil was down 900,000. Would you say he was a 4-1 dog or 9-1 dog? I mean, it's just really hard. There's just so much variance and in these games.
Yes. Yeah. We saw that with the last challenge. There's all sorts of industry insiders like, you got to quit, like this is terrible, and he showed them like there's some swings.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your book that's coming out soon here, Die with Zero. Could you just give us a bit of an overview of like what the project is and how it came about?
Yeah. The book is basically about living your best life given the resources that you have, right? Um, and the title Die with Zero refers to the fact that if you work for money, right, and you die with money, you've lived suboptimally because you didn't work to have numbers in the bank account, right? Like nobody goes and paints the side of a house just so they can have zeros in the bank account when they die.
Right.
They got the money to do things, to have experiences, right? To convert that money into experiences. The first experience we want to convert for is survival. Flynn, no. My dog is like squeaky in over there. It's survival, and then buying dogs. No, it's survival, and then the second one is whatever experiences we want to have, right? So after you've covered for survival, shelter, health, whatever, what have you, it's these experiences that we want to have that basically make up the story of our lives, right? The adventure we get to choose, and leaving money on the table is a leaving a venture on the table, which means basically you live the suboptimal life, you know, relative to what you want to do. And it's not about telling people what they should do, like you should go on a cruise or you should play chess or whatever. It's basically saying, hey, no matter what it is that experiences you want to have the most of them, here's what you need to be doing, right?
Right.
Here's how to die with zero, and here's how to think about this, and here's how to think about kids, money, spending, right? And also dynamic decisions. And so when I say dynamic decisions are decisions that affect subsequent decisions, right? Like if I have a glass of water or sparkling or flat today, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't affect any other decision down the line. But if I decide to have a baby, it changes 100,000 decisions, right?
Right.
On time. Or if I get married, it changes 100,000 decisions, right? Like, and so life is, I've said this before, and I'm starting to say it more. Life is like Tetris. If you don't get the ordering right, okay, you don't get the maximum value, right? And so, according to your own, what you want, right? Like, so if you were in heaven and God gave you all the activities, like, God, I want to go skiing 20,000 times. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to have sex 100,000 times. I want to blah, blah, blah. I want to have 5 summer romances, all the experiences. You just load them in the bucket. God goes, fine, they're all yours. But then he goes, you got to get the order right in order to get it right.
Mm.
And
you
so
got to put it together.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's a season, right? Like if you get married too early, then you don't get these experiences, right? If you wait too late, you don't have the physical ability to do certain experiences. So a big part of the book is about recognizing that one, you do die, and two, you do deteriorate, which affects your ability to enjoy certain experiences. And so I create this concept called experience points, right? As a proxy for lifetime fulfillment and happiness, and trying to solve for the maximum experience points given any resource set, whether you have very, very little resources or, a ton of resources, so that you don't waste them. And by waste them, I mean not waste your life.
That it makes total sense. How did you get to the point where you had enough of these like theories in your mind? Like, how did you live your life in a way to where you could write about this? Like, when did it form of like, I have something to say and I need to write this?
Yeah, I think over time, like I've, everybody has certain experiences that stick with them, and they were all pointing kind of in the same way, right? Like it's like grab that, grab that, grab that, and then it's like you synthesize it, right? And then you look
Mm-hmm.
at the implications, and certain things were saying the same thing. When I was young, I tell a story in the book. I was an arrogant kid, just like most arrogant kids. Like 21, thinking I'm going to make it. Very very happy, and
Mm-hmm.
New York City is packed with rich people running around. But I would see them; they'd be old, right? To me, they were old. They were my age now. They were 50, right?
That's
So I was
exactly
like,
it. Yeah, that's how I
right,
saw
right.
them too.
And I would look at him. I would look at him just like, yeah, he's rich, but he's old. Like, what's he going to do with the money? He can't do anything with the money. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to be rich when they're 50? That was
Yeah.
like my arrogance and my kind of delusion, right? Like, and my ageism at work. But even though I had like the magnitude wrong, right, I had the direction right, and essentially that idea put in my head that essentially there is a utility of money that a human being can consume. For me, it's like, hey, if you're not raving at the club, and getting girls, like, what is the use, right? But there, even though that was like entirely wrong in terms of magnitude, the direction is correct, right? And so I started to think about the extremes. Like when you're a baby, the money's quite useless to you, right? And then when you're 98 or on your deathbed, it's useless to you again. Like $1 trillion on your deathbed means nothing, right? And
Mm.
so that implies there's a curve, right? There's some sort of curve, and it's easy to see, as you look at people at different phases of their lives, and you start to see it in data, right? You can see it in the retirement planners and health plan studies, go years, the slow go years, and no go years of retirees, right? And in the data, like even adjusting for healthcare costs, seniors spend less and less,
Mm. Yeah.
right? That's just in the data, right? Without, and so that's one point, And I read this book called Your Money, Your Life that really opened my mind about like money is essentially a representation of your life energy, right? And there's all kinds of exercises in there. When that sunk in, it hit me. It was like a matrix. Like I saw everything differently, right? I started like, at around 25, everything in terms of hours
Right.
and minutes, from the food I ate to a shirt I was going to buy. I look at a shirt and I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm working 2 hours for that shirt. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like, or I'd be, I'd like to maintain a certain weight, and I'd be at a restaurant like, you want to eat those cookies, and I'm like, let me taste the risk reward, because I don't know if I'm on the treadmill for an hour and burn off that extra cookie. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that thing about time, life energy, the utility of money, it started to all point me in this direction about, okay, if money has a declining utility to me, an increasing and declining utility to me, and my life, I'm trying to maximize experiences on life energy. Like I'm not going to enjoy skiing at 90 as much as I'm going to enjoy it now. I'm not even going to enjoy sex at 90 as much as I'm going to enjoy it now. As a matter of fact, I don't enjoy playing football as much as the memory of playing football right now. I'm getting more
Mm.
enjoyment from memories of playing football than actually playing football. I need to think about like what this looks like and where my max consumption needs to be, right?
Right.
And so concepts like, oh wow, the memory of something is actually greater than actually doing it, got me the whole concept of experience points and experience dividends, memory dividends, right? So not only when you do an activity do you get like this rush, but you also get, every time you think about this, you get these experience points. So experiences pay dividends. That concept hit me, right? And so all these concepts come together. And then I was like, there's got to be a formula. I got to hire an economist or a mathematician to help me make a formula and think about this. And so, did that, et cetera. And then finally, I was with my doctor one day, and he was like, hey, and asking me all kinds of questions about stress, right? He's one of those fancy doctors forever, right? You get all kinds of pills and stuff like
Right.
that. And he asked me, hey, do you have fears about running out of money before you die? And I was like, well, I hope I run out of money before I die. And I gave him the whole spiel.
Right.
And he was like, you have to write a book. I was working on an app at the time, like a program to like do this iterative Monte Carlo life simulation to
Right. Like
maximize
you
life.
input like how many
Yeah,
ski
yeah, and
trips do
and,
you want
and I
to
did. We
do?
still are doing that. We did do that, and that was the like the final straw after talking about it with friends and arguing for 5 years about this whole philosophy of okay, I'm going to write a book, right? The app was still going in the process of the programming, and funny thing is that we've been writing this app to like my grand dream was that it would tell you exactly what you need to be spending each year, exactly what you need to be saving. But the calibration versus your health is so wild
Mm.
that it's really a good direction finder, but not really great on magnitude, right? So the best value it's going to have is like changing your health curve and looking how that affects your spend save balance, right? And what kind of enjoyment you want to do, because the timing is important.
That
Timing,
makes
not
sense.
only not only what you spend, but when you spend is just as important.
You've got to front load skiing and sex. That's what I'm learning here, Bill.
You're
I
learning
need
that
more
right now.
skiing
You're
and sex in my
definitely
life. I got to front load it.
Yeah, it's like Chuck E. Cheese tokens. You know what I mean? It's like if you got Chuck E. Cheese tokens in your pocket, they're pretty much useless for you, right? Like even your attitude changes, right? Like you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the club and swing glow sticks and dance all night, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a season for everything. And so a lot of people think of their life as like one big bucket list. Like, oh, I got to get all this shit when I'm done, but when I die, I'm like, no, you actually have many mini deaths. The death of being single, the death of being a parent of a toddler, you know what I mean? The death
Mm.
of being in college, the death of being whatever, this period in your 40s, the death of being a young intern at a job. And within each of those buckets and periods of your life that have beginnings and endings, there are certain experiences that belong there. And we got to get people off autopilot to think about those deeply, right? Get off autopilot and think about like, okay, what experiences do I want in the next 5 years during this period of my life, and which ones do I want later? Which ones should I be bringing forward, and which ones should I be pushing back, so that you optimize your life and get the most out of it.
This book is going to kill, Bill. It's such a good idea. I think people are going to love it. I'm incredibly excited to read it. Um, yeah, big thanks for coming on the podcast talking about it. I think it's going to be great. Um,
No worries.
I can't wait. I can't wait, man.
I
So
hope so. I hope so. I hope people get value out of it, because I mean, people are like, why are you writing this book? It's like, really, I want to save people's lives. Like, if you think about it, like when you're older, right, and you're on your deathbed, in your 70s, like they just spend whether it's you or the insurance company or your family, spend a lot of money to keep you alive on a hospital bed for like another 3 to 6 months,
mhm.
right? And I'm like, wouldn't that money be better spent in 2025? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it's like 30, 35, like, and like saying hi and having dinners and connecting with the people so to give them lasting memories and good times, as opposed to money out on your deathbed, keeping you alive an extra 3 hours with actually maybe negative quality of life,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, this book, and I know this sounds like arrogant as fuck, but it's going to be the most effective lifesaver there is.
I understand what you're saying. I get it because
You
I think
understand what I'm saying? Like people
there's
are
a big
spending like millions
disconnect.
of
Yeah.
dollars, or $600,000 to stay for 3 months, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, read this book, and you're going to get years of your life back. A much fuller life, and not waste. So that's kind of my like what drives me about this book. It gives me
Hmm.
passion about it, right?
I like it. It reminds me a bit of David Foster Wallace, like "This Is Water." Have you heard that speech by him, where he talks about
No,
like the default setting of like living your life, and the value of an education is being able to break out of this default setting of just like living. It reminds me of that. It's like an education as to how to break out of the norm and like be, I don't know, be deliberate with your choices in your life and how you choose to live
correct.
it.
That you've hit it right on the head. Is deliberate.
Mm.
That's why I stay away from. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you to be deliberate and think about what you want, and then maximize what you want out of your life.
Yeah, I think it's a great concept. It's gonna be awesome. When does the book come out? When can people get their hands on it?
Man, I'm like I'm disappointed, about the delay. The publisher decided like, hey, everything's closed, bookstores are closed, and that's a significant portion of book sales. So they didn't they pushed it from May 5th to July 28th.
Mm.
And we just had another call, and they were like, well, the title says die, and we're in COVID, and should we push it again? And I was like, hell no, this book is timely AF.
Mm-hmm.
Because, people now are contemplating, people think about things when they're taken away from them, right?
Yeah.
So now they're like, shit, now I can't do this.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't be able to get to do this in the 2 hours, like whatever. Like, okay, what do I really want to do? What do I want when this comes off? What experiences do I want to have? What experiences should I be having now that I have these limited choices? Right. And so this is a great time for people to connect with themselves about what deliberate choices and experiences they want to have in life. And then once they have that, the when and how to optimize, and my book just nails that. It's all over that, like white on rice.
Yeah, I understand. I really wish that this situation could come to end on a day. Like, I know that's not how it's going to happen. It's going to be a slow transition, but I think it might have been the biggest party that the world had ever seen if all at
Oh, yeah.
once, like, life was just back on. Like, the euphoria of it, you know? Like, we have the
Yeah.
context of life without. And when it
Yeah.
gets back to life with, it's just going to be insanity. People are going to be so
Yeah.
happy.
I mean, it's kind of like if there was like a miracle vaccine or cure,
Yeah.
like boom, proven cure, 100% success rate, whatever. I mean, the parties would be ludicrous.
Yeah.
And I'm also very grateful for like the trips and things I've done now, right? Like it's I was just looking at pictures of like, thank God I did that. Thank God I took the time. Thank God I took the time off for work to do this. Thank God I said, and thank God I spoke with this person because they're gone or they're dead now. Thanks
Hmm.
God I took the time. All those things that I've done, I'm very, very, very grateful for. And now to honor that, I'm really thinking about what are the things I want now, relationship with my kids, and that take advantage of this time of closeness with them, you know,
Hmm.
uh, time. And also when I get out, like, Perkins, don't be the coach who can't do, like, train yourself, you know what I mean? Like, get off autopilot, think about what you want, and take life by the cojones, as they say.
Hmm. Absolutely. That's awesome, Bill. I'm looking forward to the book. Thanks so much for coming on and talking to me today. Good luck at the Galfond Challenge.
Thank you.
Where can people keep up? Again, the Twitch channel, but Twitter. You're active on Twitter, right? Is that the spot?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter's like, it's a great. I'm at BP22 on Twitter. I'm Bill Perkins on Instagram. I like Twitter. I like engaging with people, and sometimes you see me engaging with kind of trollish people or people that are not necessarily behaving in the uh, a civil discourse way. But a lot of the chatter is for everybody, right? Everybody can read a conversation without participating, and they can get value out of it. So I love the Twitter platform. I also love the fact that there's a lot of information put up for free, and opinions and analysis that I can grab. So
Hmm.
you can find me there in the Twitter streets.
Awesome. Bill, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it, and we'll speak soon.
Speak soon. Thanks.
Big thanks to Bill Perkins for coming on. I could talk to him for hours. I mean, we sort of got off on some tangents there, but I'll make sure to ask him to come back again on the show, and would be good to loop in with him after his book is released in a couple months and after the Galfond Challenge as well. Before I let you all go this week, we have our weekly competition, hashtag JSPokerHero on Twitter, where we give away a $215 Party Poker Million ticket to someone that answers this question correctly or closest to, for example. So this week's competition, there is this tournament, Grand Prix for dealers, right? It's a $55 tournament raising money for the dealers that are freelance dealers that are affected from this situation. So we're raising some money for them. And the event starts Sunday, April 26th. It's a $55 buy-in. And you can have all these day ones throughout the week. And then the final day is on Sunday, May 3rd. So I'm going to be playing one of these tournaments for sure. The question is, in whatever day one I play, and I don't know which day one it is where I'm going to start playing, how many runners will play in that day one? So you've got to get your guess in before I actually play this tournament. It's going to be closest to, or if someone guesses exactly, it's the first person to guess exactly that is going to win this $215 Party Poker Million ticket. Thank you all so much for checking out the show this week. I'd love to hear any thoughts, feedback on what you like, what you didn't like, thoughts you have on the conversation with Bill, the online news, World Series of Poker, etc. I'd love to hear from you. You can always tweet me at Jamie Staples, Jaime on Twitter. If you're watching this on iTunes, please drop a rating. That really helps us there. Spotify, you do your thing. You don't have anything to do on Spotify. You just vibe out over there on Spotify. And on YouTube, of course, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel would be great. That's it for me this week, but until next week, we'll see you later.